whatever it took, I was staying for the last 16. I mean, it was only one more game anyway.
I'm the landlord that ruined the World Cup.
I just made this petition. Make the Scotland Games a national holiday.
It was quite incredible and frankly a bit awe-inspiring to see how quickly the country just stopped.
It's official. Scotland are in the quarter-finals of the Qatar 2022 World Cup. One more game.
But despite the naysayers, our boys just go from strength to strength. Tonight, we're asking, how will the country deal with this newfound and perhaps unexpected success? Can workplaces absorb a sudden spike in sick days?
Well, here we are, the World Cup quarter-finals. It's Scotland against Croatia.
Reasonable and responsible celebration is to be expected, but, you know, realistically, we knew that we could not take responsibility for celebrations of that scale.
You know, as daft as it sounds, it was genuinely hard to get supplies. There were booze shortages being reported all across Scotland. Deliveries were just not turning up. I get it, I wanted to be watching the games too, but the country's still got to run.
Toe-to-toe with the 2018 finalists is daunting, but 4 years is a long time in football. Can the Scotch youthful effervescence overcome the talented but ageing Croats? Well, this is quite astonishing. Scotland have somehow beaten Croatia by 2-0. A massive result.
Yeah, I think we used the ball better. We created more chances. Looked more together as a team.
I can barely say it without laughing. Scotland are in the semi-finals of the World Cup, having arguably played well just the once.
After that game, that's when everything went massive.
We've all seen the petition. Some of us have signed it. We look ahead to what the potential impact of as many as 500,000 people walking out to work tomorrow could be.
When I started the petition, it was just a joke at first.
It was decided that I should go out and make it clear to the country that in the grand scheme of things, football isn't that important compared to all the other things the government is trying to deal with.
I feel so bad for her.
And that would have been fine had the press reported what I actually said, but what they decided to do was to extract a single quote and to tell the world that I was saying football isn't that important.
There are 4 teams left in this competition, and somehow the Scots are one of them.
People were revolting against the government shutting down the semi-final celebrations.
If on a normal weekend we were to schedule an Edinburgh derby and an Old Firm game at the same time in the same city, we would be justifiably crucified for that. And this was like that, plus adding in the street party and the Transmit Festival all showing up on Glasgow Green with less than 3 days' notice.
But it was just one more game.
It cost me a fortune, nosebleed seats, but it was one more game.
Well, Scotland's World Cup in Qatar is going to be extended by at least 30 minutes. They've taken the Portuguese to extra time. The Scots win this shootout against the Portuguese. The Scots are through to the World Cup final. For the rest of the world, these have been 2 utterly appalling semi-finals. For myself and the other 5 million of us, the best night of our lives.
Yeah, I think that's one thing this squad's got is belief. Going into this game there was big pressure, but we always believed we could win, and we did that.
This time I mean it, it's one more game.
I'm not going home now.
And so the big day is upon us. Tomorrow is the World Cup final. In Qatar, Scotland prepare to take on Italy. But at home, police resources and vital services are stretched to the limit as the whole country prepares for the biggest game of football it's ever known.
The country was at a standstill and the papers blamed me for it.
The police perfectly legitimately were refusing to act as temporary stewards. The entire country was in meltdown.
My credit cards had been cut up. My tickets had cost me as much as my rent. My family were calling me an idiot. You know, I mean, what was I going to do when this was all over? I didn't even know how I was going to get home.
The morning of the game, I didn't want to leave my house. I dreaded opening the pub.
The vast majority of the populace simply didn't go into work.
We've always hoped, but have we ever truly believed? Well, believe, you better believe, Scotland are about to take on Italy in the World Cup final.
I was on my way to the ground, a couple of pints deep. I was at breaking point, mentally and now physically with my bladder. I went behind a wee wall outside the stadium to have a leak. I was heckled before I could shuggle.
Half-time in the World Cup final and the Scots really struggling.
That's how the lone soldier became the locked soldier.
Somehow, though, it remains goalless.
The place was in a state. I had no staff and I couldn't take it. So that was the moment I turned off the TVs, told everyone to get out.
It is sensational! There's just 12 minutes left of this World Cup final. Callum McGregor's corner, a scuffle in the box, 3 yards out, Kieran Tierney, the right back poking home.
The worst landlord ever ruined the World Cup final.
It doesn't make much sense, but this is happening. The referee has had a look at his watch and he blows for full time.
Come all this way to end up having to listen to Scotland win the World Cup on the radio in a jail cell.
I feel like I was made into a scapegoat.
I was public enemy #1. I couldn't even bring myself to watch it.
The Queen of Skivers.
Bad word of mouth like that will kill a business. Stone dead.
The First Minister decided to permanently relieve me of my duties.
Pub didn't survive.
The world will call this the worst World Cup final of all time. Scotland does not care a jot. For the first time since 1967, the Scots are world champions.
This place lost its mind.
Why didn't we plan for it? Why don't we plan for success?
We treated every game after the group stages like it was a World Cup final.
At every juncture, we're waiting for our imminent but heroic failure.
I was just taking it game by game.
I have spent my entire adult working life in roundtable discussions, in forums, in committee rooms, talking about how we can try to set the Scottish men's football team on a pathway to success. Reams of paper about how we could possibly maybe one day get the Scotland team to the point where they might start to do all right. And it is all just pipe dreams and fresh air. And I'll tell you how I know that, because in all of that paper there is not one sheet of A4 about what we do if it works. Not one.